All right. What's up, Equine Edge family? Brady Klotz here with my co-host Mike Somich, ready to bring you guys some live racing from Remington and Charlestown, and also talk about the Breeders' Cup pre-entries. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I'm pumped, man. We got Breeders' Cup in like a week. I'm flying out to Del Mar on next Wednesday. I cannot wait. It's going to be an absolute blast. Excited to be at the track Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I am not someone who gets to go to the track often, so I am pumped to actually be able to be out there. How about you?
Hey, we don't go to the track often, but when we do, we expect to cash tickets. So I am pumped as can be. I'm calling all my buddies every single day, talking about Breeders' Cup plans. Where are we going for dinner? Who are we betting? We haven't even had post draws yet, and I think I know who I'm betting, at least in the BCBC. I know that both of us are going to be participating in that. Yep. I leave on Thursday morning at 5 a.m. I'm going to play in the last chance qualifier. Are you in on that one, Mike, as well?
Yeah, I'm in there. I'm trying to get a second entry because I want a Brady entry, man. I want the pound the chalk entry, right?
Let's go.
I want to get that second one because on the first one, I love playing those big doubles and you got a 15-1, you're trying to play in a 7-2, things like that. But man, we've talked about it a little bit off air. This could be the year where playing a bunch of even money shots could be the right thing to do.
Yeah. No, when I was in the office today, I've got a few whiteboards in there, and all of them are covered not with what we're doing in the insurance world, but what we're doing in the BCBC. So I might have to get a few more whiteboards before the end of the week, but I only got one more day. So yeah, Mike, we got pre-entries out. We it's kind of coming together. We have an idea. We've been handicapping this for months. The Breeders' Cup is the one event where every horse that's trying to win a championship is peaking to this weekend. Every trainer, they always ask who's live. Everyone's live because this is what the end goal is. And so we get out to Del Mar next week. We're going to do another show for you guys once the post draw does come out. And we get official entries. But we figured tonight, while it's the topic of everything, we'll go over some live racing and we'll talk about a few races tonight and get some opinions.
Yeah. So our plan here is we're gonna watch a couple from Remington, a couple from Charlestown. We actually have Remington, which is walking into the gate right now for the first. Not going to get a chance to really get into it here. I did play a small win bet on the 4. If anyone is interested in going that direction. But our goal here is to talk about the Breeders' Cup races in between the races here, the pre-entries. If you have questions in the chat, fire them out. We want to talk about the races that you guys are interested in talking about. We obviously have some that we find a little more interesting. We talked a little bit off there. We've been on here for about 10 minutes chatting in the background, and we have a couple disagreements. We've got a couple agreements as well. So we'll definitely try and highlight those as we go through the races here. We got the 3rd from Remington going. Then we're going to jump over to Charlestown, watch a couple races from Charlestown, but we're going to talk BC or Breeders' Cup all night as well.
Yeah, I can't sleep, dude. I can't get it out of my mind. I mean, this is it. This is our Super Bowl. This is if we've got a few major championships throughout the year, you got to think the Breeders' Cup betting challenge is the best one.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's 2 in my mind that are absolutely top notch from just a competitive standpoint. There's the NHC, which you have to win your way into, and is just straight win place betting, and so that's one style. And then there's BCBC, which is bankroll management, actual the money betting style as well. And to me, those 2 are 1A and 1B in the tournament scene.
Yeah. Do you have a preference on the win place tournaments versus the live money ones? I know personally, I thrive in the live money.
I feel more comfortable at the win places right now because I've played more. But the live money, I think long-term I'm going to be better at. I've only played 3 live money tournaments. It's only going to be my 4th live money tournament. So still getting used to that management. But I have been fortunate enough to win one of the ones I played, and I feel pretty good from a style strategy in the last couple I played. And I think that hopefully we can turn a corner. Get this 4 up to start the night.
Here we go. He's in the middle of the track. It looks like he's gaining.
There we go.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
Pull off this 5. This 5's flying late.
Oh, no. No, I didn't even look at him. Oh, horse racing, man. They'll get you every time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right,
you ever, when I was at Keeneland a couple weeks ago, there were so many races that went to the short stretch. And so halfway through, we started cheering. We're like, yeah, okay, half of these races are the short stretch. And then you go long ones. You realize how long some of these stretches actually are. And you're your cheering is elongated. And when I go to the track with my buddy Greg, he brings his 2 kids. They're 4 and 6. And he's like, all right, no cheering until we're at the top of the stretch. And then it's we start cheering when they're into the first turn. So
Keeneland's tough, man. I am not a huge fan of those short stretch races. It messes with my head when I'm handicapping sometimes because I'm looking so much for speed or forwardly placed horses, especially on the inside when you go in 2 turns of Keeneland. And you sometimes get away from horses you'd normally land on because of the specific biases that you're trying to play toward the track. So it's one of those where you kind of have to get out of your own head sometimes at Keeneland.
Yeah. And we'll get into that later on. We were talking about track bias, or is it just the best horse is the speed horse in the race? And, at Keeneland last year, a lot of people would have considered that a very tight track or a souped up track. I think of how many records were broken last year. I believe that, was it Gamine, Nashville, and Nixco all broke records?
Yeah,
or at least track records.
Track records, yeah. I think 3 or 4 of them fell, and part of it is that there haven't been that many races run at that time of the year at Keeneland all the time. So, like you have specifically Keeneland, you saw at the summer meet too. The track, they had track records left, right, and center because the track was just playing faster. They definitely had that track keyed up quite a bit at Keeneland. It'll be interesting to see Wednesday and Thursday if we see that same style of track from Del Mar, which could kind of give us a precursor to what's going to happen at the Breeders' Cup on Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely. And, with our whole tagline being good chalk and bad chalk, it almost seems like all of the favorites on Saturday's dirt races are the horses that we expect to be on the lead.
Yeah, it seems like we're going to have a lot of speed favorites out there. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if those hold or not. We've got about, it says 0 minutes to Charlestown race 5, but it looks like we've still got about 2 minutes here. So Brady, we got a 1-5 favorite. Good chalk, bad chalk.
Ooh-wee. 1-5 favorite, 45% win with a hot jockey on board here. A horse that got beat by 16 lengths last time out at the same level. So this is a kind of they know type of horse. This has to be barn money, in my opinion. I know I wouldn't be betting a horse at 1-5. I wouldn't be seen even coming close to that. And so, this is one of those races where there's really no win bet candidate if you do like the favorite. A 3-5 morning line, 1-5, off odds. I'm looking elsewhere here. And if you look at the top 3 picks, we got the 6, the 3, and the 4. And I thought the 3 was the horse that I was going to be trying to back, the first-time starter. Look, this one horse didn't run a lick in his maiden. Something went wrong. But sometimes these horses are just chronic bad breakers, or maybe they don't want to be a racehorse. So if I was betting this race, I would probably try to key the 3 here in a first-time starter, because I typically, if I'm not seeing what I like from horses that have had starts previously, I'm going to go elsewhere. We got the second highest GSR, 30% win, which what we always talk about, this is a short field. There's only 5 horses in this race. The 1 at 1-5 is 45% and a 5-2 EE morning line. The 3 is 30% at 5-2 as well. And we see the 1's odds actually floating up. And so I would not be backing this one. I'd either be skipping this race or trying to take a shot with a first-time starter.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I talked a little bit about value. I had a couple people hit me up on Twitter asking what I meant by value. This is a great example. Look, Jax, great name, by the way, is your most likely winner. But at 1-2, you need to win 75% of the time, 66% of the time, to be able to be profitable. And the Equinedge here has 45% as the win percentage. At 1-2, you're losing money. You need like 6-5 to be profitable at a 45% win percentage. So I agree. Like I definitely am not playing the one horse to win here. When there's a horse that's this over bet, I actually do like to sprinkle a little bit of money on the win side. And to me, I would go with the 3 horse. And one of the main reasons here is the board. When you have a first-time starter that's a morning line 9-2, and you have a short-priced favorite on the morning line 3-5, who gets bet down to 1-5 and 1-2, it's hard for any other horse to even stay close to their morning line odds. And in this case, we have a first-time starter that is taking money, right? So it's a sneaky taking money because you're actually a little bit higher than those morning line odds. But to be able to be at that level when you have a horse like the one who's taking this much money is actually a pretty good sign. So I'm going to sprinkle a couple bucks here and play the 3 a little bit. I don't hate the idea of playing the 3 over the 4 or the 3 over the 6 in an exacta and trying to run the 1 off the board. The 1 was 2-1 first time out. So bet first start and didn't run a lick. And now taking a drop from maiden special weight all the way down to maiden claiming. I mean, why not take a shot against this horse in a 5-horse field?
Absolutely. I agree. And sometimes at these tracks, we can get a lot of fluctuation late, but I don't think we're going to see that. I just looked at the will pays. This one horse is a heavy favorite, paying $12 in the double versus the 3 who's paying $68. Yep. Excuse me, that was the pick 3. In the double, this one's paying $2. And so this is one of those races where I'm probably going to skip, but if I had to make a play here, I'd be taking a shot with the first-time starter, the 3.
Yeah, it looks Oldie's mentioned the first-time starter. Trainer stats here, 15% first-time start, and has pretty good works. I like the work, especially 3 back, where it went 48 out of a gate. And then you clearly have like a work off where it runs 52 out of a gate. I'm not worried about that last.
Kind of like a maintenance work.
Exactly. John in here with the 4 or the 6. I think both of those I like. If you have an opinion on either of them, I would take those horses over, someone like the 1 horse. The 4 and the 6 for me, the 6 specifically is kind of that lifetime maiden status. Although this is the first time facing maiden claiming, so maybe that can kind of help the horse wake up. I kind of like the 3-4 exact a little bit, and it's probably paying a decent penny.
Certainly. Well, I'd say if you like a horse in race 6 or race 7, and you're against a favorite like this that's 1-5, this would be an opportunity where you could play all but the favorite in just a 50-cent pick 3, or a daily double for $1 base wager, because these payouts for very little risk are going to balloon if this one horse gets beat. I think of a couple years ago, there was a pick 6 at Gulfstream where Jaywalk, who was the Breeders' Cup Fillies champion, went off at 1-5, and she got beat. And it was a huge pick 6 day, and it was probably the most singled horse in the sequence. And Mike, I know you mentioned that a lot on the Magic Mike show, of trying to beat whatever horse you think the public's going to back the most. If you don't think that horse has you might think he's going to win, but is he a slam dunk versus is this horse going to win 20% of the time?
Being contrarian is huge in multi-race wagers. You have to have separating legs, and the easiest way to separate is to knock off the one favorite that most people are singling. And so that definitely is a good way to try and get around it. Other thing you could look at, I kind of like the 3 in the next race. Actually, I like the 3 quite a bit in the next race. So I'm going to play a 3-3 double too, and see if I can get some value.
And that horse's name is Make It a Double.
There you go. Let's
I think it's meant to be.
Man. So I'm going to go with a 3-3 double here and see if we can get some value in the multi-race stuff. I'm going to sprinkle a little on the 3-4 exact as well.
Okay, absolutely. We're looking at the 3-3 daily double for $1 right now is paying 16. So not bad when you're beating a 1-5 shot. No, this 1-5 is not Gamine. We know that, but Gamine may be 1-5. We want to jump over and maybe talk about that filly and mare sprint race, or are we getting close?
Pull it up, and then we'll flip back and forth. I'll keep an eye on it.
All right. Equine Edge has the pre-entries up. If you guys didn't know, we're able to access those. Let me pull up Del Mar here. Now, with the win percentages and the EE morning line, take into consideration, these are not the post positions. So the win percentage algorithm and the EE morning line in the top picks right now, I would disregard till we get post draws. But as far as the GSR and as far as the SOR, those should be on point. So just to clarify for everyone, we've got Gamine, and the question is can you beat Gamine? Is it possible? And if so, who's going to beat her?
Man, I want to, and I'm who's going to beat her, I think, is the hardest part about wanting to beat her, honestly, because you look at Bella Sofia, who has run 2 very good races. And honestly, I think the last race that Bella Sofia ran is better than the last race Gamine ran. Gamine has not been the same Gamine we saw leading up to the Breeders' Cup last year. She's been less dominant this year, still very good. Definitely nitpicking a little bit here. But you got to think that Gamine's going to have some pressure up front early from Bella Sofia from a pace perspective. And either the question is, can Bella Sofia possibly get away from her, something that Serengeti Empress couldn't do last year? Or is there someone like Cece who can try and run her down late? So it's one of those spots where I think it's tough. I've wavered back and forth in trying to leave Gamine off because she is going to be the shortest price of the whole weekend, most likely. Or you kind of have to single her. You don't really have an option of going 3 or 4 deep. That's going to end up with a pretty negative EV ticket.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A couple of points for me on Gamine is when I'm out there Thursday and Friday, I'm definitely going to be taking note of how the track's playing. Are we going to have a tight track? Speed typically is good at Del Mar. And number 2, I backed Serengeti Empress last year. I was all over. I singled Serengeti Empress in the contest, and Gamine rated and was able to pass her. I thought that was a different dynamic from that horse that we hadn't seen before, was Gamine could actually come from a stalking position or off the pace.
Yep. And that's the scary thing, is that even if Bella Sofia is faster, Gamine could do exactly what she did last year, sit comfortably behind and go right on by. Now I kind of wonder if you got the whole, cloud over the Bob Baffert barn and what's going on there. We know Gamine has tested positive multiple times in her career. Is this going to affect how she runs? There's a lot of things around Gamine where you could try and take a shot against, but it's scary. Either way, if you played her, if you played against her, you're scared when they walk in that gate. It's one of those races where I'm not going to be confident no matter what I end up doing there.
No, absolutely. And from a contest perspective that we're looking at, or anybody else playing in the BCBC, it'll be interesting to see what a lot of players do here. If I had to guess, this will probably be one of the mandatory races that a lot of people balk at and maybe just play a $600 show bet just to get one out of the way. Some people are kind of they don't like that style of play. They're like, hey, let's try to get a double into the next race. And one point that I wanted to make is every other race in Saturday's card on the Breeders' Cup is there's not two like strong chalks back to back, which is phenomenal. So that way you're not going to get any $3 paying daily doubles. All your doubles are going to be awesome into like the mile, into the turf, into, you know, the turf sprint. So I love that the Breeders' Cup did that.
It also means you may be able to team up one of your bigger priced opinions with one of the chalks and get a nicer double than what you get if you just bet to win on either of those two horses, if you are overly confident.
And we know that those turf races are highly more likely to, you know, yield higher prices. Was it Ardario's 99-1, 90-1 last year, something like that? And then Order of Australia had to be like 17-18-1.
You flipped it around, but you nailed it. Order of Australia was 99-1. Ardario was 18-1, I believe it was.
I think Order of Australia should be 99-1 again this year after what I saw at Keeneland.
Man, I hate that horse. That cost me the pick 6 that day. I had the one horse who ran second by like a half length, and the freaking draw it in off the also eligible. The other Aiden O'Brien gets the job done, but. That's what you have to watch out for. Those AEs that draw in. I mean, Europe ships to win. Why else would they come here? Ship all the way across the world to just, you know, get a race? No, thanks. They're coming to win. I think it's important to talk about the Del Mar turf and specifically Euro shipping in. So we'll talk about that here right after we get this Charlestown race. If these maidens claimers want to agree with us here, I think we're tentatively. I'm on the 3. I think Brady, you're on the 3 as well. A couple people in the chat on the 4 and the 6, trying to get around a 1-2-2 shot here. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully we can get some bad chalk here at Charlestown. Absolutely. We want to get paid. You know, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, obviously who makes the gate at the Breeders' Cup. We hope everybody gets in healthy. I feel like every single year there's maybe 1 or 2 scratches that are significant. So we hope everybody gets there healthy this year. As far as the Del Mar turf goes, I went to Del Mar for 4 days this summer, and the turf was playing very speed favoring, I thought. But, you know, it seems like all the summer tracks just play that way. Saratoga plays that way. Gulfstream plays that way. You know, out west plays the same way as well. But they haven't ran on this turf course in about a month and a half, 2 months since the Del Mar meet ended. So it could be totally different. It could. Right. The 1's not going to get the lead easy. The 6 is definitely up there pressing, but it looks like the 1's going past at 1-5 now. 1-5. Oof. Yeah. You know, if I'm betting a first-time starter, I so much prefer a first-time starter that shows speed rather than one that maybe Rosario pulls to the back. Well, totally. I mean, it's hard for a first-time starter to be professional and be able to pass horses, and like especially on the inside, which is what we're going to try and do with this 3 horse here, and hopefully sprout some wings, as Trevor Demon would say, so we can try and get up here. But yeah, it's tough to make up ground late as a younger horse, especially as a first-time starter. And it looks like 1-5 was easy money here. Pete reference there. I love it. I think Pete's one of the best in the game. I love listening to him. When I first got into horse racing, he was kind of the guy. I'm like, I'd replay those YouTube videos of his calls, and he's got some funny ones. He's got some good humor, so you kind of have to read between the lines sometimes. Yeah, he's a blast, and he's one of the announcers that I love to listen to. So I got a Del Mar Breeders' Cup turf theory for you. I want to get your thoughts on it. So one of the things that you have to deal with when you're shipping to Keeneland or Belmont, some of the East Coast tracks, Churchill Downs, for the Breeders' Cup, is that you could get either firm or soft turf, right? You have the possibility of rain. You're not sure which ways that's going to go. You see some of these European horses ship in, and when you look at the past performances, you're starting to see some of them who performed well on faster or firmer turf over in Europe. I'm wondering if you're seeing some of these European trainers say, hey, we're going to ship our best firm turf horses because we know it's going to be firm at Del Mar. And then on top of that, we'll also ship the best horses that we have. And then it brings the question, are you going to get an even better contingent from Europe than you would on a general Breeders' Cup weekend? And if you go back and look at how Euros did on the turf in California in the previous Breeders' Cups, they're winning about 50% of the races the last 3 times they've had the Breeders' Cups. That includes the 2 sprints, which they had not won since before last year in those Breeders' Cup races. So what do you think about that theory that we're going to see some really good firm turf specialists coming from Europe as well as the best turf horses? Ever since I saw Summer Romance and Alfique come over, Walton Street, Yabir, Santa Barbara, I thought that this was the first year since I've been in horse racing that the Euros sent over some of their A- string horses. In previous years, we'd get horses like Anthony Van Dyke, Magic Wand,
You name it, those types of horses were not the top horses in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
We got an Able one time. My first Breeders' Cup was Churchill Downs, and an Able came over, and that was like a wow moment for me.
Incredible.
That was one of Europe's best horses at the time.
Yeah, one of the world's best horses.
Yeah, absolutely. Europe's not sending the B squad or the JV team this year. I think, unfortunately, some things have happened with the health of some horses, and some weren't able to come over. So I highly upgrade horses that have been here all summer, specifically Charlie Appleby's horses. Number two, when I'm looking at past performances of horses that have ran on firm ground over in Ireland, France, wherever, our firm ground is totally different than Ireland's firm ground. Yep. And so oftentimes, if we're off the turf, that would be a soft going maybe, or a good going for a European horse. And so they train in it all the time. They train on the turf, where a lot of our turf horses train on the dirt. And so a lot of tracks don't allow turf training. That's why they have the off tracks. Like, I think, is it Payson Park, or I think Chad sends a lot of his horses down in Florida because they're not training on the Gulfstream track, or, they have the cones way out wide on some tracks too,
around the dogs, that
don't allow turf training. And so it's the great handicapping angle of, do you think that the Europeans can handle the firm going? And if the answer is, well, their class is going to prevail. So for instance, Domestic Spending is the American favorite, we would say. The horse lost to 2 Emmys, which looks like a $100,000 allowance horse. Can Tarnawa overcome the firm ground that maybe she doesn't like and beat our best horse? I've changed my opinion on Domestic Spending.
Well, here's the thing. Like, to me, Domestic Spending lost to 2 Emmys because of the pace, not because of anything else. If you look, they came home in sub 23 seconds in that race, in the Mr. D / Arlington Million, whatever the hell you want to call it today.
The Arlington 600K.
Yeah, the Arlington 600K. They came home fast. They actually ran sub 24 for the final 2 quarters. So it's not like Domestic Spending was going slow. Just it turned into a 2 furlong sprint, and in the other horse, 2 Emmys had a 5-length lead. It's tough to make up 5 lengths when they go home and 46 and change, I think it was 45. And change.
If you and I are running a mile and you give me a 1 lap head start, you're only going to run so fast coming home, right?
I would
whatever your max is.
I would just sit down. I would just stop running. I would not be able to catch you. I am not fast, especially at distances. Maybe a 10 meters run, I could run you down, but nothing longer than that.
Sure. Let's throw up the turf race here while we're talking about it, and that's a good point. And that's the whole thing about handicapping is, do you think that the ground's going to be an issue for some of these horses? Some of these horses from Europe have never ran on ground like Del Mar, which I think California got some rain last week, and it was nobody knew what to do. They're all like, oh my God, it's raining. Like, this never happens out here. And it's like, we deal with it every single day at Keeneland or Naira, and it's just not a big deal. I don't know. Let's talk about this race. Does anybody, you got 22 horses to choose from, other than kind of the Domestic Spending and the Tarnawas, of this field. Is there anybody else that you're looking at?
I mean, look, we just talked about the Mr. D, the Arlington Million. There's a pace deficiency in this race as well. I think that has to be something that's at least discussed. When Del Mar's for turf is firm, I prefer horses that are forwardly placed, especially if it looks like it's going to turn into a sprint. I mean, you look at horses like Acclimate, who is probably going to make the lead, and United, who loves to sit close and be able to pounce, and who has run very well in this race before, as 2 possible long shots. To me, I would lean more toward United than I would toward Acclimate. But I wouldn't be shocked if there's one of these California horses that is more forwardly placed, that's able to get the job done here. And look, Oldie just brought up a great point too. Look at the GSR on the Japanese horse. The Japanese horses, we've got 7 of them coming in for the Breeders' Cup this year. Japan has significantly better thoroughbreds than they did 3 years ago or 4 years ago or 5 years ago. They've started to win races internationally. I wouldn't be shocked if this year, the next year, we see a Japan winner at the Breeders' Cup. And so I wouldn't completely chuck these horses. I think you might get a monster price underneath out of one of these Japanese horses. It's
hard to get information on these horses sometimes. I've been watching a lot of replays. As soon as I've been watching the foreign odds market to kind of get an idea for the last couple of weeks on who's going to be here. But really, until we know pre-entries, studying it up it's hard to do. The one horse that I'm disappointed that's not in the race yet is Tribhuvan. I mean, there was something how he ran a race, was it with or without Lasix? The United Nations. Yeah. He ran with Lasix, so he was not able to get points towards this race, and he won.
Lasix, without a whip.
Yeah, without a whip. This is the horse that would have the clear pace advantage. I mean, this is when Chad Brown has a speed horse, we think of newspaper of record, we think of blowout, we think of Trip Uven, who's been overlooked in domestic spending shadow, but ran second in the Manhattan that I thought for a while was going to steal the race. This is not Sister Charlie's Thais from a few years back. This is an actual Grade 1 winning horse for Chad Brown, and I was disappointed to see that he didn't draw into the field, and it's going to take some massive deflections and scratches to get him in.
He actually is in now. So there's one scratch. Oh. Yep. He was the first off the also eligible list, and there was one scratch. So Tribune will be in the race. So we will at least get to test the theory of who the speed is going to be here. It's one of those things when you look at the West Coast and East Coast contingent and you do talk about pace, generally the West Coast turf horses are just going to be faster. And when you look at Tribune, and you look at the early pace numbers, I mean, he's on the lead. Manhattan in the Grade 1, he was on the lead at 46 seconds, and that was a darn fast pace, so I don't want to completely dismiss that. But domestic spending was able to get the job done there. If you look at the Monmouth race where he won 115 for 6 furlongs, Saratoga 114 and 2 for 6 furlongs, you compare that to what Acclimate's been doing in California, and Acclimate has been going 111, 114, 2 back at Del Mar, 111, 110. So you'd expect to see a little bit more speed from the California horses than Tribune necessarily. So that's my one concern there. We do have 4 minutes to Remington. Do you want to flip over to a little live action here?
Sure.
Before
I'll flip over to Remington. This turf race it's going to be interesting because turf racing I think yields a lot higher prices. There's a lot more handicapping that goes into it. So oftentimes in these dirt races, it's kind of like toss, this one. Where turf, it's so much more pace dependent. And I look at last year's winner Tarnawa. I ended up singling Tarnawa last year at a heck of a price. It was like 7-2 or
I think it floated to 9-2.
Yeah, 9-2. My gosh.
Yeah.
And overcame a very slow pace that Channel Maker set on the front end. And totally outkicked was it Magical? No, who was it last year that got second? It was another European horse.
Was it Magic Wand?
Magic Wand, maybe. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. But if he was able or she was able to overcome that last year. Remington race 4, we've got 3 minutes to post. We've got a 5.5 furlong dirt sprint here, the low level claiming for 3-year-olds and up. I ended up tossing a few horses that were very low win percent off of my ticket right here. Mike, is this a 2-horse race between the 4 and the 8, or am I missing something?
I mean, this low level, it's tough. I mean, it's a $5,000 open claimers. These horses have run a ton of times in their life, going 5.5 furlongs, like you said. The 4 looks awfully tough, but the 4 is coming off a layoff. This is Broberg shipping in. You're getting Elliott, his top jock. So you'd expect that this 4 is ready to roll and ready to run. If the 4 gets out early, it could be awfully tough to catch Sugar Rose here.
Absolutely. When I was handicapping earlier, I was kind of looking at what prices these horses would be, and I saw that the 4 was a 2-to-1 morning line, and the 8 was 4-to-1 morning line, and I thought that they were very comparable horses. So I was going to try to play the one that was a little bit of a higher price, and I landed on the 8 here. You get David Cabrera running for Ron Moquette. You got 34% win, and we've got half of the morning line, and we're still about half a point higher than the 4 here. So I went to the 8 here on the outside. They tried this horse on turf, and it wasn't really working out. They get him back to dirt. He's running better numbers, and so I think that this 8 figures here. If the 4 gets out there on the lead, I understand. But he's kind of a speed and fade type. If we look at the times that this horse has gotten the lead, he's gotten the lead and he's faded. 3 back and 5 back. And so I kind of want this 4 to maybe go out and get on the lead and maybe get a little bit lazy in the stretch like some horses do. We've watched racing for so many years to know that the race is not actually over until you finish the finish line. And so my whole theory here is like maybe we can get this 4 to go out and the last furlong, maybe he quits. And maybe 8's right there to pick it up.
I definitely think it's possible. I mean, I think they're both going to be gunning out pretty early. And the 8's one of those where he's never been able to take advantage of those fast paces, at least on dirt. At the last 2 races, gone out early and kind of faded off it and not been able to get the job done up front or catch anyone 2 back. I'm a little interested in the 6 here. You're getting a 10-to-1 price, I think, right now. Yeah, 10-to-1. The 6 horse likes to win, 10 for 58 lifetime. It's won twice at Remington, twice at the distance, 7 times on fast dirt. But the thing to me is that there's 4 or 5 races in the past performances that are good enough to get the job done here. And if I think the 6 sends out here and kind of sits off the 4. I wouldn't be shocked if the 6 is able to run down a tiring 4-horse late. So if I was, I'm probably going to not go crazy here, but if I was sprinkling anything, I would play the 6 and I'd put him on top of exactas with the 8 and the 4. Maybe sprinkle in the 10 too. I don't hate the Scotty long shot in this spot either.
How important is back class to you? And on that question, how far back will you look at credible back class? A lot of times you'll have a horse take a year off and say, man, if he runs back to his previous races, he's good enough to toast this field. What's your thoughts on back class and how long do you look back?
It depends on if they have the same trainer. I usually generally cut it off if you switch trainers because I think that's important. When you do switch trainers, you're going to see a different horse. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to look at. For me, back class is only good back about, well, it depends. The higher the level, the less I look back. But this is $5,000 open claimers. The horse has run 60 times. I mean, I could give him credit for races 20 races ago and say, look, he's got it in him. He did it 2 years ago. Why couldn't he reproduce it again here at 10-1 when you're getting a much bigger price on a horse like the 4? And this is a lot of tournament handicapping too. When you're looking at a win-place tournament, you got to kind of dig a little bit through those past performances and trying to be able to find those horses that have the back races that fit, that can get the job done against horses like this 4-horse here who, probably your most likely winner, probably shouldn't be even money though, right? And so it's how do you find your way around those type of horses?
Yeah, and finding the horse at the price when you think he might be done. Rock Emperor, for instance, a few weeks ago. Yeah. How many times was Rock Emperor the favorite? And then he wins a graded stakes race for Chad Brown at 15-1. Yep. And so I know we talked about that on the show last week, but how many times does that happen to you? It's like, okay, you bet a horse, you support him 3 or 4 races, and then you divorce the horse. And you're nope, never again. Then he comes back and wins at 15-1.
And then you got to decide if you're going to remarry him or not, if you're going to just stay divorced. It was just a separation. And Rock Emperor, we are divorced. I am not going back, man. That hurt when he was able to get the job done. Kind of like where the 6 is. Yeah. I mean, the 4 looks pretty comfy on the inside, though.
He does. The 8's going to have to go a little wide. Oh, he's motoring now.
Yeah, that 8 has horse.
Yeah, wow.
8-5. The 8 got bet down late. The 1's trying to sneak through the rail, too, here. The 4-horse did exactly what we thought, that start and fade. Good call on the 8, Brady. Got bet down from 4-1 to 8-5, but that's
contest play. It would have been a contest play if Remington had a nightly contest. We might have to talk to them and get something started.
Oh yeah. Hey, don't you can't spoil it. You can't drop it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, that horse ran great. It was like that jockey just pressed a button at the top of the stretch.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Look at this gallop out too. It's like he wants to go another lap.
that 1 is going to balloon the trifecta too. 36-1 on that inside horse.
Wow. Awesome. When you're playing trifectas like this, you have 2 very heavy favorites. And a lot of times people are looking at the will pays and they're thinking, well, maybe this is a merry-go-round race where the 4 and the 8 are just going to, bang heads on the front end and they're going to be 10 clear of the rest of the field. So people will play a short price exacta that's only paying $3 or $4. Where do you find these horses like the 1 that are 30+1 to really blow up your exotics? I mean, what are you looking for there?
Well, I mean, in this case, you look back at the 1's past performances. He was one of the few horses that actually passed horses. And in this case, he kind of went past the tiring horses. And it's interesting because when you're looking at who can win the race and who can run third, you're looking for completely different things, right? I mean, the 4 is more likely to win than the 1, but the 1, you could make an argument. Yeah, he can run up. I got the Hurricanes and the Blues who are absolutely rolling this year. I'm pretty excited about hockey right now. It's going great.
I think the Packers just scored again. 10-7 is what I see there. So
you got to get that team total over. We got to get the Packers to cover 7 for Brady here. So that's what we're rooting for in football. Yeah, it's one of those things where you handicap for horses that can run in the money at a big number versus handicapping for the win. I wouldn't ever have used the 1 in multi-race bets, but I could see why someone would throw it in the 3rd spot. Or I would have been aggressive to throw it in the 2nd. Don't get me wrong, but I could see why you'd include that horse in the tri or the super because it has picked up the pieces before in the past.
Yeah, and you have to look at horses, especially when you're playing these contests, of who doesn't really have a chance to win, but who, if they run their race, is a candidate to hit the board. Yeah. I remember when we played in the Pegasus contest in January, I texted you, Mike, because we were talking strategy. This is even before me and Scotty met. And you're like, McKeever's got 2 entries. He's got 1 here, and then he's got 1 in 4th. And you're like, he's probably not going to play the 1 that's in the lead because why would you? It's almost like, hey, the target's on my back. Come and get me. And he played the other entry with some bombs, I believe, to try to, kind of counteract that. And my final play was I played a huge exacta with 4 horses, and then I played a try, but Independence Hall came and ran third at 25-1, and I didn't have Independence Hall in my try. Hindsight 2020, but I hated the horse. I was never going to use him. He was never a win candidate for me. But, was he maybe a bang up run third? I don't know.
Yeah. That sometimes finding that horse to run second or third can be the biggest thing. I mean, I had my biggest cash at BCBC last year. I had $1,000 exacta with Monomoy Girl over, I think it was Valiance that ran second in that race.
Because Swiss Skydiver broke poorly and then tried to rally up, and then at the quarter pull she was just done.
Yeah, and my exacta paid I think it was $21,000 for $1,000. And that's with Monomoy Girl on top. There are ways to make money. You just got to find those spots where you can try and hammer a price. Or I think 8-1 was the price on Valiance there. So you just got to find the right spot to play it.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it, is that the BCBC is a true betting competition. I'd say I'm a better than I am a handicapper. I think that's important to understand. It's hard. We all know the stakes races, but real good handicappers, you can look at any race and try to come up with an opinion. And I'll skip a lot of races. I'll skip more races than what I'll play, but the ones I'll play, I'll really try to press.
Yep.
And so, we talk about ticket construction all the time. Speaking of, we've got the filly and mare turf, which is similar to the Breeders' Cup turf, except the favorite, I think, will most likely. I know there's a couple here. There's this Love You Only horse, and then there's Warlike Goddess. I have a strong opinion here just because I have a futures bet.
Yeah, I was going to say, you are biased, my friend. You don't think Adaya is going to be the favorite here as a returning champ?
I don't think so. I just she got overlooked last year, and look at her current form. Now she's been running in all Group 1 races. But, when you have these Breeders' Cup races, a lot of the money's coming here from America, and they'll bet the home team. They will. It's obvious when I get a Chad Brown runner out at Del Mar in like the matriarch that's 5-1, like I did Uni, like I did Viadera last year, like horses like that. It's almost like whatever the home track is, they bet the home team. Dr. Scheibel's going to take a lot of money in the sprint. I guarantee it. United's going to take a lot of money. All these West Coast horses will take money. And so, and the other thing is just being uninformed. Whether you're looking at any type of racing product, unless you're talking to someone from the UK, good luck finding enough valuable information on those Euros like we have on the American horses. So it's an uncertainty thing too. I heard last year, a lot of guys' strategy was they boxed all the Euros in the mile. It was worked. 1, 2, 3, and it paid what, $99 or more? I mean, I don't even know what it paid.
It was 99-1 over 11-1.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, so it probably paid 1,000 or more for 50.
It was huge.
I'd like to look that up.
Yeah.
So I think that this race, from a contest perspective, I'm probably not going to have an opinion. I'm probably just going to pass. Do you have any thoughts? We know Tarnawa's not going to this race. Tarnawa's in the turf.
Yeah.
But
I got two big opinions in this spot, and it's kind of frustrating because I'm going to have to try and figure out how to separate these two. I kind of love. She's run very, very well. She beat Adaya a few back over in Europe. She's also been running in Group 1 after Group 1. She likes to win, which I think is a big deal. And before her last couple, she would have been, I believe, a little bit bigger, heavier favorite, or would have been the favorite coming in here. But there's really, like, if you look at her last three races, she lost to Mischief twice, which there's absolutely no shame in that, right? Adar beat her once, Mischief beat her. And then as a favorite, she lost to La Petite Coco, but didn't lose by very much. And it was just a very weird race if you go back and watch the replay. So I'm kind of giving her a pass there. The other horse I really like, we talked about the Japan angle. Loves You Only is the other one that I've been going back and forth on. Loves You Only went over to the UAE and ran third to Mischief, then came back to win. Look, this is another horse who I think has an awesome shot at winning here and has been only facing the boys for her last, 5 races? Mm-hmm. She's getting back to face the girls here. I think that it's because she's from Japan, you're going to get more value on her. So to me, the two horses, Loves You Only and Love, I think you're going to get a nice price on. I think both could romp. I'm hoping by race day can have a pretty big opinion on one of them so that this is one of those races I can put half the stack on.
Ooh, we like that. I agree with you on Loves You Only. That's the horse. I had a conversation with my buddy today. That's very insight and close to a lot of the runners over here that are coming in, and specifically the overseas runners. And he's very high on this horse.
Yeah.
Loves You Only. And so for me, I'm not a fan of Love. I think it's one of those horses that I think is going to be bet heavily that I'm trying to beat, and I'm just taking a stance against her. I'm not interested in any of the Chads. My sister Nat has no chance to win this race.
Yep.
I mean, absolutely no chance. I think she gets overbet every single time because she's a half the sister Charlie. Pocket Squares in this race. I mean, that horse in the summertime, a horse couldn't win a race until it was facing lesser company. They had to drop this down to a $100,000 allowance, non-winners a lifetime 3, and then they, won a grade 3. So to me, the Chad horses are in there just to run. Dog Tag, that was an old Chad Brown runner. I'm not interested. It's a Mandela horse now. Let's see. Rispoli's going to be on Going to Vegas. This is the horse that just won the Rodeo Drive gate to wire. And so do you upgrade local horses at all, horse for course angle at the Breeders' Cup? Is there such a thing?
A little bit, especially underneath, where I'll look at it a little bit. I want to answer Oldie's question before I jump in there real quick. He was asking specifically whether or not Loves You Only is going to go to the Filly Mare Turf or the Longines Turf. I just dropped the link in here. If you want to check this out, this has the preferences for each horse, so you can see what their first and second preference is. In this case, Loves You Only's first preference is the Filly and Mare Turf. So this is the race that she would be in over the turf race. So that's a good place to just kind of check that over at racingdudes.com. I do think you kind of have to upgrade some of these local horses because they've run over the track. They're used to the track. They're used to the surroundings. They didn't have to ship. All of that's a positive. Now, if I'm ranking like what horses I trust, we're talking like Euros are like way up here. Then New York racing is like, well, East Coast racing is like right here. And then West Coast turf racing is like, we don't have a box big enough. They're way down there, man. And so I'm not sure that even though I would upgrade the West Coast horses, any of them are going to necessarily make my ticket.
No, I absolutely agree. I really am not pressing any West Coast turf horses this week. My strategy is pretty clean cut and dry. I've got a bunch of singles here, and if we can run the table on these, it's going to be a great weekend. And if we don't, I'm still going to have a lot of fun. But let's talk about Warlike Goddess a little bit. She came on my radar at Gulfstream when she beat Always Shopping, and that was the race that Irad looked back like 3 or 4 times when he. I needed that horse for Florida Derby Day contest big. And of course, he got beat at the wire by a nose. Ever since then, this horse has done nothing wrong. I don't even know, has been fully asked to run yet since then, which thinks, does she have more left in the tank, another gear that we haven't seen? Because Julian's just been chilly the last 3 mounts on her.
Julian's absolutely just circled the field the last couple times at Saratoga when it was hard to circle fields, and she made them look like they were standing still. So
in slow pace.
You got to respect Warlike Goddess. This is just, the water's got a lot deeper here, a lot deeper. And so it'll just be interesting to see if she's able to swim with the sharks this time. But she has not done anything wrong. So you definitely can't talk. You can't, there's no knocks on her except that this is the hardest field she's ever faced, period. And it's by a lot, right? And that's the one concern. Let's flip over to Charlestown real quick here. Because we're rocking 0 minutes to post. They're walking up toward the gate. So I'm going to, Brady, you want to throw up the Equine Edge there. This looked like a 2-horse race to me. And now we're getting 3 to 5 and make it a double, which makes me not want to bet the horse. It's kind of a bummer.
4-horse field. It's a short field. And so, the highest price that you're getting, you have a 3 to 5 shot, an 8 to 5 shot, and then you have 2 price horses.
The 2 is in too. It's hidden on the bottom of your Equine Edge there.
Oh, there we go. But the 2 has no chance. Let's be honest.
It's in the field. Come on.
Let's be honest. It would be very unexpectedly that this horse wins.
I would be very surprised as well. And so this is one of those, like, to create value, can you play an exacta with either the 3 or the 5, and you throw the other one out? And so, I mean, for me, I'm going to play a little 3-4 double, 3-4 exacta straight, and see if I can create some type of value. Here, the 3-4, we're getting. What are we getting here?
I'm looking it up right now. Charlestown race 6, the 3 over the 4, exacta for $1 paying $9.
So you're getting essentially 9 to 1 that the 4-horse is able to beat the rest of the field. The 2, I think we agree, is absolutely no threat. I don't like the 1 even a little bit. So to me, it's the 4 or the 5. and you're getting 9-1 that the 4 is going to be able to beat the 5. So to me, that's kind of how I'm going to play the race. I'm not going to play it huge. Yeah, I wish I wasn't chalk on these races. The problem is some of these night tracks can tend to get a little bit chalky. In this case, this is one of those where I'd rather make the right bet and play the chalk that I think is right than pass on it altogether. And if the horse was 8-5, I think 7-5, I'd be a little more interested in betting it here to win. But 4-5, I think it's a little tough.
What's funny is that the 5's actually the favorite in the doubles, but not the pick 3. So just a slight. But I'm with you. I think the 3 is an actual good chalk here. And, that's why you like big fields. And that's why in the Breeders' Cup, on some of ththese favorites, we're going to get 5-2. In the Classic, I wouldn't be surprised if the favorites 2-1 or higher. I think it will be. I think 5-2 maybe for Essential Quality or Knicks Go. And so I love those races, though, when you get the favorite at 4-1. And you could almost see that in the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile, maybe. I know Space Blues is going to take a lot of money. Mo Force is going to take money. Heck, outside of Golden Pal, if you're against Golden Pal, the Turf Sprint is probably the best race to bet on the card.
Well, we should talk about that next after we watch Charlestown here, because I think at least one of the 2 people in this chat are against Golden Pal.
Somo chalk. Ooh. Ouch. Ouch. Holy.
The double in the pick 3 that you're referencing pay $330 and $210 to the winners. So the chalk has been the right move right now.
5 looks onto the lead. The 3's getting a perfect trip in behind, and it looks like everybody else might be running for minor awards. We'll see how this pans out here. You ever been to Charlestown?
I have not. I would like to go at some point. I've never been to any of these bull ring tracks, which I think would be kind of fun.
Yeah, 3-turn mile and a 16th races, or
it'd be fun to go for their big night. Charlestown Classic would be awesome to go and check that out and play into some of those pools. This 5 looks just gone, but again,
the 3's all in.
Yeah, the short stretch is not going to help out anyone who's trying to come from off the pace here.
Yeah, Charlestown's big night was very fun for me because that was NHC day 2. Yep. I believe it was the Friday night or the Saturday night, and Art Collector ran.
Yep.
Our Mercedes boy ran for Georgina Baxter at a 12-1 morning line. I mean, I hammered that horse in a double. I didn't get my pick 3 bet in like I thought I did. You ever pull up your ADW and you try to punch, but you're watching on YouTube TV that's 90 seconds delayed, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to bet this horse. And then you punch, and sorry, race is closed, race is off. And Vertical Threat was the horse I had in the start of the pick 3, I believe. Yeah. And so I only got to play our Mercedes boy into Art Collector, and it still paid way more than it should have.
That was Art Collector was one of those, right? That was one of my big hammer bets for win bets for that weekend in the cash side. I thought that was just a gift that we got anything over. I think it was what we got 2-1, 7 or 5-2, something like that.
The horse should have been 2-5.
Absolutely crazy in that spot. All right, let's talk about Golden Pal here. We got about 12 minutes left on the show. We got one more race live coming from Remington here. If anyone has any races that you want us to jump on here before we go, before we get into it, let's go for it. To me, Golden Pal is one of those horses that's going to be one of the interesting ones of the weekend. I just can't at what the price is going to be on this horse. I mean, what do you think Golden Pal goes off at? We're talking even money-ish, right?
Last year, he went off at 4-5 in the juvenile turf sprint. And, he's done some quirky things. So that whole episode last year in the juvenile turf sprint, we're in my basement where I'm at right now. And, this is okay, this is our first bet of the whole entire weekend. And Irad pulls him back into the pack a little bit. And then he re-breaks. Well, a couple weeks ago at Keeneland, at the top of the stretch, I thought Firecrow had put him away. That's what it looked like visually. And then Johnny V taps him on the shoulder and he opens up again. Has Golden Pal been messing with people, or is he not? Is this kind of maybe a Gamine thing where maybe we think he's not as good as he was last year? I don't know. I have another future on Golden Pal, so I probably won't be playing him.
Yeah.
I mean, the futures, they're the way to go if you can get them. Seriously. But you got to look at it. It's 5 furlongs, which I like for him. And some of these other runners, I think, are better at 6. And so, we're looking at some other horses like Casa Creed, where they discovered that this horse is not a miler. He's actually a sprinter.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got that horse, you've got Gear Jockey that I think is also going to be taking a lot of money. And that's another horse that was a miler that's turning back to a sprint. And so, typically those horses are the ones that are winning from off the pace. And every single year in this race, at least every year that I've watched it, it almost seems like it's a race to the lead. And in a blink of an eye, the race is over. And so you have to be out of the gate.
Well, I mean, except for last year when Gear Slippers came from 10th.
Yeah.
So let's
that was 5.5 furlongs, though. It wasn't a flat 5. I believe.
That was 5.5, not the flat 5. Look, let me make the case against, right? So Golden Pal looked amazing as a 2-year-old, was able to get the job done, ran very well, runs well at Saratoga to kick off the season in the quick call, goes overseas and gets pummeled. Now and that's over 5 at York. Gets absolutely beat down, including one of the Europeans that's going to be in here, Emeralty Anna. She came over to run in this as well. Then runs that race at Keeneland, which I thought was, you're right, the playing with them was a little weird. I thought he was going to get beat at the top of the stretch. 3-year-olds have only won this race one time in 13 tries. Once in 13 3-year-olds. This is a tough, you're underdeveloped at this age at 3. This is a tough race to win in a straight out sprint against the best turf sprinters in the world. I agree. This is, Wesley Ward, obviously very good turf sprint trainer. Obviously the horse is good, but from a time form and from a buyer perspective, the horse needs to improve to be able to beat this field, which to me right away is a little bit of a concern if I'm playing a horse that's going to be around even money. And then you got other horses who I think are awfully interesting. I think Gear Jockey is kind of interesting. I think Lieutenant Dan at a price could take this field wire to wire and maybe faster.
He's fast.
They may be faster than someone like Golden Pal. So, I feel like Golden Pal is one of the more vulnerable chalks that you're going to see in a 14-horse field. You're going to play a 3-year-old that needs to improve at even money. That to me is just not something I want to be doing.
Yeah. What I've learned in this race is don't discount Peter Miller, no matter what form the horse is in.
He likes to win the turf sprint, man.
Belvoir Bay, Stormy Liberal.
Twice, yeah.
I mean, Stormy Liberal the first time was 30-1 when Joel rode at Del Mar last time out. And then he comes back and wins at Churchill. And then 2 years ago at Santa Anita, it was Peter Miller won too.
Yeah, it was Orb was it Orb or someone else that ran second? Someone Ohm ran second. That's who it was.
Ohm did. Yep.
And both the prices 11 and 12-1. Both Peter Millers. You have to respect
home court advantage as well. It's trainer advantage, who's a specialist at this distance and surface specifically. And you got to think, all right, Peter Miller's going to win at least one Breeders' Cup race. Is it Mo Forza or is it in the sprint?
Yep. Well, Chris brings up a great point here as well. I agree that Emeralty, and I can't pronounce this damn horse's name, so sorry. Emirati Anna is awfully live here as well. If a European is able to make this back-to-back, I don't think it's Glass Sippers. I think it's Emirati Anna that's able to get the job done here in the sprint. Like I said, she beat Golden Pal overseas at York earlier, 2 starts back. So, well, I'm not sure if she or he. But anyway, I believe that this one has an awfully good chance at getting the job done here in the turf sprint as well.
Yeah. I'm going to have to come up with something if this is going to be a contest play for me. More than likely, this is probably a race I'm going to pass on unless I can really hammer down a combination of doubles. This is a scenario where, we've got Gamine into this race. So if I liked a horse in this race, I would play Gamine into him. Because let's say you liked, let's say, for instance, Gear Jockey. All right. Let's say Gear Jockey is going to be 10-1. You're probably going to get 20-1 in the doubles using Gamine into Gear Jockey, for instance. So things like that. If I liked, a horse in this race, or say I liked Life is Good, then if you found a horse that say, hey, you know what, I want to take a shot with 2 or 3 of these horses that are prices and not the chalk. That's the important thing. Every single year in the BCBC now, they release the plays of the previous years. And I went through and looked at mine last year, and I was like, man, I learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, the BCBC last year is my first live money tournament, and I had 0 chance at winning it. Straight up. I've made so many mistakes looking back on it, but I learned so much doing it. And it's funny, I finished 25th and I made money. I was profit, but zero chance at winning it because I was not betting in the right style. So it's really important to go back and look at your bets afterward in these tournaments and look at what was successful and be like, I'm never getting to $150,000 by betting in this style. I need to change up how I'm playing it to be able to be successful. And that's, as you mentioned earlier, part of being a good bettor, and why that is so important when you're betting horses is being a good bettor is as important or more important than being able to handicap. Because if you, over the long term, don't find plus EV spots and you're just playing negative EV spots all the time, even if you handicap correctly, you're going to lose money. You're not going to be able to beat the rake. So definitely a tough part there. Interesting question here from Andy. How much do you factor weight into your handicapping? The 5 there at Charlestown was 113. The 3 was 122. Seems like a pretty wide difference. Yeah, that is a pretty wide difference, especially for a 6.5 furlong race at Charlestown. Personally, I account handicapping weight into handicapping the longer they go, specifically on turf when you're doing that kind of sprint for home when you're going a mile and a half. I think weight does matter quite a bit. Dirt racing, I'm not a huge weight guy. What about you, Brady?
If it's a significant weight drop, and I'm trying to lose about 8 more pounds before I get to Del Mar, because I know I'm going to have in and out as soon as I get off the plane. I mean, some people tell me that in and out's not even good. I don't want to hear it because I only have it like twice a year and it's good. So let's just set the record straight with that. I found a weight break for Tarnawa, and it is, let's see here. She was carrying 133 4 back. Now she's carrying 123 in the turf. So it's a 10-pound difference on a closer.
You see that a lot with European horses coming over. You get these massive weight breaks because they carry more in Europe. And that's one of the reasons why I think you do see a lot of those horses improve when they come over here is because they're carrying a ton less weight. We've got one more race here before wrapping up. We're going to head over to Remington's 5th. So, Brady, did you have any early thoughts here on the 5th from Remington?
Yeah, I looked at the 8 here, Trail Diver. And so one thing that I liked is that our EE morning line was half of the track morning line. The track had it at 8-1. We're at 4-1, and the horse is 6-1. So I think that that's a little bit of value here. And so I liked kind of the setup for this horse as well. I think he's going to get a good trip. I think the price is right for me. I didn't like the inside horses here. I think that the 1's probably going to send from the rail, and so he's going to be the favorite. And so I'm hoping that maybe another horse can go with this 1 here. But yeah, I am a little bit against the favorite, the 7, who is not getting bet as heavily as what the morning line suggested, Crap Shooter. And so, if we're looking at what type of company this horse has faced, yeah, he's keeping on dropping in class every single time. But, I looked around too. I looked at the 2, and the 2 really didn't interest me as well. And, he's kind of dead on the board. And so I was looking at the 8, and we got 23% win. The GSRs are all kind of in the same, window, so to say. And so the one horse that's kind of getting some class relief here is the 10. If we look at the SORs that the 10 is getting, 50, 56, 46, 46. This horse is a huge class dropper, down from 40K maiden special weight down to maiden claiming. Yeah, so I thought that the 10, if the 10's just going to outclass this field, he could do it.
My biggest concern with the 10 is it's the first time sprinting. All the previous races have come at a mile or 7 furlongs. We're cutting back here to what is this, 6, I believe it is.
Yes.
So I'm a little concerned that the horse is slow, which is a problem when you're sprinting. So it'll be interesting to see if the 10's able to keep up early. I'm giving a good long look to the 3 horse here, My Real Diamond. Look, Kenneth Nolan, 21% trainer. You're getting Richard Amura up, who's 12%. Nolan's also 18% second off the layoff. I think that's the key. This horse ran 2 maiden special weights, came out off a layoff and ran in a $15,000 maiden claimer, now dropping down to 7.5. Showed speed in that $15,000 maiden claimer and then kind of folded up. Feels like it needed that race. I'm interested to see if the 3 can take a step forward here. And I don't mind that 8-1 price, especially when you got that 10% win percentage. It's not bad for what you're looking at there. And I think that the 3 to me is the value on the board. So that's the direction I'm headed here.
A nice price right now of 9-1. And looks like they're heading into the gate. Mike, you taking the 3? I'm taking the 8.
Yep.
So we got 7-1 and a 9-1. Let's see if we can get a price home here.
It looks like John's got the 1, 3, 7, 8 here as well. Kind of flipping through the chat here, seeing if anyone else threw out their Remington picks for this one. That 7 got out well.
Mm-hmm.
And there goes the 3.
See if the 1 tries to get up there from the rail. I thought the 1 maybe had the most speed in the race.
Be interesting to see if anyone can close at this level.
Yeah, there's the 10 that we thought was maybe a little bit of a lollygagger out of the gate, cutting back in distance.
Yep. And that's awfully tough sometimes, is when you have a horse that's cutting back that seems like it's the best horse, just having too much work to do can often be very, very difficult.
Yeah. Cutting back and stretching out, 2 totally different things, obviously. I typically like horses stretching out, especially if I'm getting a horse that's running 6 and now we're going a mile for the first time and the horse shows speed coming out of Gulfstream, something like that. I do like a stretch out. So looks like this 3.
We're going to make the lead at the top.
Yeah, you're going to have a chance.
Get run down here again. He looks pretty comfy on him too.
Come on, beat this chalk.
7's going to be the threat. We got bet down late to 6-1, but we'll still take it if we can get this last.
We need the wire.
Don't start.
We need the wire.
Run down at Remington.
Wire.
Oh, come on. There we go.
Dang it. You're good.
7 hung like a champ.
Yeah, nice call. There we go. 9-1.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Boy. So we only missed the pick 4 by 1 leg last week.
Yeah.
I played it and then I think I fell asleep because those Remington races I think finished up around 11 o'clock Eastern. And so, yeah, good call there on the 3. Did we get 9-1?
Ended up with 6-1, but we'll still took some late money, but we'll take it.
It's because everybody in the chat just bet your 3 horse.
I hope so. I hope the chat absolutely hammered it. Everyone, thank you very much for watching and joining us here. Make sure to hit the like, the thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe. So anytime the Equine Edge YouTube goes live, you can join us on here. We'll be back next Tuesday, I think is the plan.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to come back next Tuesday. We're going to go over all the Breeders' Cup races. We're going to give our opinions on them after the post-draw so that you guys are ready early with the content because me and Mike will be traveling out to Del Mar. We'll be live at the Breeders' Cup. It's going to be awesome. And then the season's over. Oh, wait, we've got the Del Mar Championship meet going on. We got Gulfstream starting up in December. Then we got Pegasus in January. So the fun never ends, especially when you're playing the good chalk.
Well, hopefully you're fading the bad chalk.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week. Good luck.